Alright, so what are the control structures? Okay, this is valid for all the programming language. If else, and it doesn't matter which programming language you use, it is valid for all.
Loop.
So that will be a for loop, right? For
Switch case.
so that will be a search while
Do while.
and and do we have anything else?
For each.
No, that comes under loop only, right? Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. So this is the control structure which is used in all of the programming language, including JavaScript. Right? So if and else is very heavily used in JavaScript. For loop is very heavily used, but there is an abstraction on top of this. Switch case is used, but there is a better way to do it in JavaScript. And do and while obviously we use whenever required. Right? This is the common control structure we use it. Okay? So that means this is very heavily used, often used. Okay. Uh, Abstractions. Okay. Then better way available in JavaScript. Let's start yes. Okay. And this is a normal use. While and do while. Very rarely seen do while in JavaScript. In fact, while also. Right. So just remember this. Even if else, you can do there is an alternate way to do it. Okay. Second one is an operator. Okay. Before I go into JavaScript, okay, let's do the operator one. Okay. How many operators are there in JavaScript? I mean, in programming language. These you already know, right? All of you have done a programming, so studied some form of programming. So how many types are there?
Arithmetic operator, assign or with a
Logical,
Bitwise.
bitwise.
Conditional.
That is logical, na?
Ternary operator.
Ternary, yes.
Increment and decrement operator.
That will be our arithmetic, na?
Okay. Huh.
Assignment.
That is arithmetic, eh? I would suggest that is will it be different? I'm not sure. Ternary.
Relational operator.
Relational, I'm not sure about it. Let's study that, alright? So I'll also have to study this. I think relation will come under arithmetic only, or possibly bitwise. Alright. So in arithmetic operator, how many? What are the arithmetic operators? We have plus, minus, star,
Division.
division, addition, division, multiplication, and
Module.
Modulus and
Increment, decrement.
A plus. That is plus plus, right? Minus minus. Minus minus. Yes. Yes. Do we have this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what does this do?
It does multiplied and assigned to the same.
Same value, right? Okay, so the left value. Okay, so it will do the multiplication with the left value and will assign again to the left value. Right? The same way with the logical. Okay. We have double and double or
Not.
not and
That's it.
sorry,
3.
come again.
सिर्फ 3 ही होते हैं.
सर इतने ही होते हैं.
Have double equal, right? Double equal भी होगा ना?
ये अरिथमेटिक
No, no, sir, this is arithmetic. Sorry, my bad. This is arithmetic. Yes. Yeah. इतना ही है, I guess. Yeah. There are, I guess, couple of more, but not really used.
Yes.
Okay. Bitwise में
Single end.
I guess this is that. This is the operator. Okay. Ternary.
Colon.
Question mark,
colon.
colon.
Only one, right? Ternary में. Okay. Alright. So in JavaScript, so these are the basic operators which you have to remember in JavaScript. Alright. So in that, bitwise we don't really use it. Okay. So you don't have to worry about bitwise. I'll just mark it as a red. So arithmetic is very heavily used, logical is very heavily used, and ternary is again very heavily used. Right? So this control structure can be achieved using, if and else can be achieved using ternary operator, and very heavily used in JavaScript, just to short circuit the code, just to reduce the code. Okay. Basically, these are the kind of operators, and normal programming language we have this, right? But in JavaScript, specifically in JavaScript, we have double equal and equal, triple equal. Alright, so we also have plus double equal. Right? We have greater than equal, less than equal. We have greater than double equal, less than double equal.
Not equal.
Not really used, but there is. Okay, but so you don't have to worry about it. But this one is very heavily used in JavaScript. Okay? I will cover in the session. Okay, in future session. Right? These are the kind of operators which we are aware of. All right. Anything else?
So not equal to.
Not equal to. Yeah, not equal to. Yes. Not equal to. All right. Anything else? All right. So let's do some small kind of task or kind of practice. So if I do 1 plus 1, what will happen? Output
2.
2, right? Straightforward, right? 1 minus 1, 1 minus, let's say 1 minus 2, minus 1, right? Okay. 2 multiplication by 4 is 8, right? 4 divided by 4 is 1, right? straightforward है, correct है ना? And then okay, so these are the basic arithmetic operators. I won't go into these operators. I will cover later. Okay? And uh, how does the logical operators works normally? If I take a logical operators, how does it work?
If two conditions are true, then it will go in the loop. Like if you are using
For
it
and,
means
yeah. So for and, there are 4 combinations for this, right? So if it is true and false, what will be the output?
False.
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 False, right? So you know it. Then again, true. I mean false, false and false. False. Output
False.
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 Okay. Then again, false and true.
False.
False.
False. Okay. True and
True.
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 True, right? Right. So these are basic conditions which is used in logical operators, right? So so this condition is very heavily used in JavaScript. Let's little bit differently, but you should have to remember when you do this check, uh, you should be knowing the which operator, which value to use. Okay, and for or false and true,
False.
True.
True.
true. Okay, true and false.
True.
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 True. True. Just one second. Just one second.
True and true.
Students are fine. Alright, so again, just what will the value if I have false, true and true, true and true?
True.
True.
True, right? Okay. Right. And false and false?
False.
False.
Alright, false. Okay. So in JavaScript, when we do a logical operations, right? So if the first value is true, then we go for the second value. We check for the second value, right? And if the first value is false, then there is second value is not checked. Same with this one. First value is false, second value is, even if it is true, then it is not checked. Again, if the in AND operation, if the first value is true, then it will go and check the second value. If it is true, then the operation will be executed. Same way, in OR operator, if the first value is false, all right, so it will basically only take the first value. All right, this is all right. Nobody questioned me, huh? Just one second, one second. I'll just check. All right. Okay. So if in JavaScript, if the first value is false, okay, then the right side value is basically checked, okay, and right side value is evaluated. But exactly same when we do practice that, so we'll be able to find out. This is how power operators works, and for this thing bitwise. Bitwise we don't really use, and we use negation. Okay, so one is pending called negation. Okay. Negation. What does negation do? Zero of
Get the value 1.
one, one of
0.
0. So only we can only have two value as per normal negation operator, right? And then we have ternary. Okay. So how does ternary work?
Condition.
A
Question mark.
Question mark. E. Then B.
B. Colon.
Colon C.
okay. So how does it work?
If A
Condition
is
is
true,
true, then
Hmm.
Then
If A is true,
execute B.
then B will be used. If A is false, then C will be used. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Right. So just remember this. So in JavaScript, we use logical operators, we use ternary, and we use arithmetic operators very heavily. You know, just to bypass this control structure. I mean, this if and else, we can completely bypass if and else by using this. All right. Okay. So we'll be doing more practice on this. So I just wanted to do a quick revision so that you again you can do you can read some articles and refresh your memory. Right. So I'm just coming back to the history of JavaScript. All right. Okay. So uh, anyone has an idea about when did JavaScript started?
1995.
Google it, huh? Nice.
Yes.
Okay. So basically, again, it has a kind of a link to the Linux, right? So in 1991, Linux started, right? And that's when the technology revolution started because the software was literally free for everyone. The operating system was free for everyone, right? That means it was the more power was given to the users who can do whatever they wanted, right? So in 1995, there was a couple of guys who started a company called Netscape Navigator. It was the first browser in the market, right? At that time. So at that time, there was two main player in the market. One was Windows, Microsoft. Another one was Apple, right? And when they started Netscape Navigator, so it used to call Netscape Navigator. The company name was Netscape, and the browser was used to call it Navigator. Right. So it was it was a paid software, and by using that software, people can view the website. So before that, there was they could only view the website using either using wget or curl. Okay? The command which we've used, remember it? The wget command we have used. Yeah. So before Netscape Navigator, there was not very much application to a HTML, and Netscape Navigator, because of this browser, it changed a lot of things, right? And it took a very high adoption in the because it was very expensive. So, but still, a lot of companies started buying Netscape this browser, and they started having their own websites. Yeah. And because of this, so earlier it was basically built kind of using mixed concepts from multiple language, from Java, from Scheme, from there like another language, there like few other languages. So it basically picked the concept from all those and created a language. It wasn't used to call JavaScript back then. It was used to call something else. I don't fully recall the name. It's something, I guess it's a Mocha. Okay. So it created a kind of, took a concept from multiple language and created a scripting language. It was to call a LightScript, yes, LightScript. Okay. And because the Netscape was getting very much popularity, and Microsoft and Apple was the only operating system who were like paid proprietary operating system, and Linux was just getting started with the it was a OS, but there was a very less UI. Okay? So it was more of a terminal. Okay? So still the Linux adoption was not there for the normal market, retail market. Okay. Because Microsoft and Apple were proprietary system, right? So anything, if you wanted to build anything on those system, you have to pay for the those system. It's just like a licensing fee that company Apple takes for iPhone. It takes 30% cut whenever you make any payment or whenever you sell anything on iPhone. Okay, so Apple takes 30%. Same way back then, Microsoft wanted a big chunk of money from Netscape. Okay, पैसे दो करके, all right, and it was making very huge amount of money that, right? But because what happened back then, all the company back then, the Adobe and other companies were having Photoshop and other different products, and they used to pay a very huge amount to the Microsoft and Apple for using their system. But with the browser, because it is a kind of web, right? So those, anyone can could build a website, and they don't have to pay anything to Microsoft and Apple. And basically, other companies will, everyone liked that idea. Alex, everyone liked that idea. So Microsoft noticed that this Netscape Navigator is becoming very big company, all right, and they wanted to kind of buy it, but they outrightly denied it. Right? So what they did, they kind of stole IP of Netscape, and they created a browser called Internet Explorer back then, right? And they gave it for free. They gave it for free. Okay, and because they gave it for free, and soon after, the Netscape Navigator microshare went down, because same thing, you were getting it for free, then why will you buy it? Right? So even within a year or two, Netscape started there seeing the decline. Okay. To basically compete with Microsoft, uh, Netscape Navigator, basically back then there was a market leader in backend. The company used to call it Sun Microsystem, who basically owned the Java language, who invented the Java language, right? And Java language was like a very powerful and very stable language at the backend, but the Java was missing the front end part. So Java tried to do a front end part, but they failed it. So basically, because Netscape were mostly catered towards the scripting language of front end, so Sun Microsystem never see them as a competitor or kind of threat. Right? So Netscape Navigator and Sun Microsystem came together and formed an alliance that Java will be backend, and back then it was a LiveScript. Still JavaScript wasn't born. LiveScript will be the scripting language for the front end. Okay, and together they wanted to fight Microsoft. Right? And Microsoft was then again they were creating their own script called VB Okay, so if anyone have heard of that, we used to call it Visual Script. Right? They created their own VB script. So back then, what happened? Because the language Java and the JavaScript was not compatible, right? So there was a developer in Netscape called Brendan. He was given a task to create a new language. Okay? And he was given like a kind of 3 weeks to create a new language, new programming language altogether, okay? From ground up. Scrap everything what they had in Netscape and create everything from ground up, right? With a very little amount of time, because there was a very high competition with the Microsoft. Okay? So he again did some research and created a language called Mocha. Because he had very less time, so he had made lot of architecture flaws and lot of mistakes while creating those language, right? And it was basically launched. This language was launched in Netscape kind of prematurely, right? And because it was a browser, and browser was to get installed in different systems, and back then there was no like a hot updates, right? So once the browser is installed, there is no way to update it. Okay, So all the flaws and all the drawbacks are basically got installed in all the different systems in the companies, different companies who are using Netscape, right? Because back then, just to avoid and just to make a proper name to the language and to get the proper popularity, uh, Netscape, LiveScript, and Mocha changed their name from Mocha and Netscape and LiveScript to a JavaScript. So Java was from backend, and Java patent and copyright is owned by Sun Microsystem. Right? And so basically, because they had the alliance, so basically they came together and said the front-end web language will be called JavaScript. Right? So that is how JavaScript was created by using the name Java. But those are not related at all because Sun Microsystem never saw JavaScript web as a competitor. So they were like completely open and okay with the name JavaScript. Right? So that's how the name JavaScript came. Okay. In 1996, the around same time Google started search engine. So they started using JavaScript because this gave the flexibility to them that you can build a search engine in the browser. Right? And same way, Adobe started creating their own own browser, and other companies started creating their own browsers. Right? So around that time, around I guess around 1990. I guess around 1990, 1999, I guess. Uh, uh, Finally, in 1996, the Netscape basically filed for bankruptcy. That means because Microsoft was offering Internet Explorer for free, Netscape was not able to make money. But back then, the language was basically kind of standardized. So they decided to make it available free for everyone. Yeah, so they open sourced it, all right, and they gave it to an organization called ECMA. Right? ECMA is basically a standardization of Europe, which decides all the technology standards in the Europe and all the programming language and all the like currency symbols and everything which is there in the computers. Right? So because when it was donated to ECMAScript, and because the name Java is owned by Sun Microsystem, ECMA cannot use the name JavaScript. Right? So they adopted a name called ECMAScript, and that is why that is the name came ES. If anyone of you know ES, why it is called ES, ES5, ES6, it came from that, right? So basically, JavaScript was renamed to ECMAScript, and JavaScript name remained. All right. Okay. So it's like your JavaScript is a nickname. Official name is ECMAScript. Okay. And around the same time, the standardization started happening that all the different companies who created their own version of browser and the front end started coming together and created a kind of standardized version so that in future all the browser will have same functionality. All right. Otherwise, what used to happen, right? So if you create a browser web page for one browser, that web page will not work in other browser. If you know, I'm not sure if I've ever seen this, but when I used to work, okay, so in Internet Explorer 6, at the back of the page, right, it used to at the bottom of the page it used to say this website works best with i6 and i7. किसी ने देखा है ये वाला ये message? This website works best with i6, i7, i8.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, so that is the reason because Microsoft has their own version of JavaScript which used to call JScript. Alright, so those JScript code will not work in another browser. Alright, so
Some of the pages does not work finely in Google Chrome while they suggest that you should run in Internet Explorer.
yes, because the code was written in JScript, which was a Microsoft implementation of JavaScript.
Okay.
Alright, so that's why ECMAScript came where all of the standardization came, that how to write a if loop, okay, how to write a for loop, okay, how to do a ternary operator, and how to do all the logics, right? And then ECMAScript were released finally, I guess in around somewhere around 1998 to 2000, I guess, yeah. So ECMAScript 1 came, 2 came, alright, and it was all good, and all the company was like very happy, and that everyone was working on the same standardization and same rule. but different browsers. Okay, and back then it was clear that the browser will be free for forever. Nobody will have to pay. And the moment Netscape burst shut down, the Mozilla started as a foundation. Okay, a non-profit company, and companies started contributing and donating to that company so that browser development can be taken care. All right. So ECMAScript 1 came, ECMAScript 2 came, and everything was happy and everyone was developing. Still, Microsoft was not onboarded. Okay? But during the around 2000 to 2003, all the big web company came. The one being the Yahoo and Google, and their main business was website. Okay. So they started heavily contributing to the JavaScript community and JavaScript standards, right? Because they had so much money and so many developers and so many researchers and so many PhD guys. So and they have seen so many things. So they basically learned a lot of things at the work, and they started contributing because it was open source. They started contributing to the those standardization, ES6 standardization, and that is how the genesis of JavaScript started. Okay? Standardization of JavaScript started. Right? And around 2004, the Ajax came, the first Gmail came, right? And it revolutionized everything. Before that, if you want to do anything on browser, you had to click it and it will reload the page. That was a standard kind of procedure for a website. But 2004, Google implemented Ajax, kind of Ajax, right? So what happened when they implemented, they launched Gmail. You could open an email without refreshing the page, right? And that made everyone thinks that JavaScript can be used in a very different way, right? And then again this was a very own implementation of Google, so they did not share with the world, right? So around after ES2, everything was fine, but in ES3, okay, conflict started happening, and there was a kind of a bureaucracy and there was a politics started happening in the organization, the ES6, where the JavaScript community, right? My standard is the standard which is used at my company is best, and I will not use I will not accept yours. Kind of this started happening, right? And because of that, ES3 and ES4 took around 8 years to get developed. Okay, 8 years to get finalized, but it was never developed into a browser. Okay? Finally, it was scrapped. Okay? Then ES 3.1 came, where everyone basically agreed that okay, this is the basically kind of standard we will follow. But to avoid the confusion, 3.1 was renamed to ES5. Okay, renamed to ES5 in 2009. Right? And back then, Google was building their own Chrome. Right? Google was already like I guess 4 to 5 years into Chrome, and they had built a very heavy and very powerful JavaScript browser. Okay? And back then, Mozilla was also like very powerful JavaScript browser, and Mozilla used to rule the basically open source JavaScript world, but around 70 to 80% of the browser was still an Internet Explorer. Yeah. And Internet Explorer was still not onboarded. Yeah. Internet Explorer is still not onboarded to this ECMAScript community, and that is why a lot of website was not working for this thing. I mean, Chrome and Mozilla. Okay, specifically Indian banks website, because banks were very much tied up with Microsoft and .NET and all, right? Right. So they had a contract not to use any other browser other than Internet Explorer. Right. So they had to build a website for Internet Explorer only, and that is why in early days, to do any transaction, I remember this. If I had to do any transaction on Bank of India or ICICI Bank, I had to actually specifically open Internet Explorer, to specifically use Windows and Internet Explorer. Without that, I couldn't do transaction, online transaction, left transaction back then. Okay, but again, finally, Microsoft realized that it is losing a market share to a Chrome. Okay? So they started a new browser called Edge. Okay? So now Edge, right? Right. So Edge was completely rewrite of using open source JavaScript standard. Right. So around that time only, 2009 when the ES5 was finalized, all of the browser started implementing ES5, and all of the browsers, and if you build your website, you build your web application using ES5, it will work across all the browser. You don't have to worry about that. it will work in one browser and it won't work in another browser. Okay? That case was removed from 2009. Actually, formally it was kind of, it took around 3 years to get adopted because browser is very much kind of fast and very much fragmented. So it was very difficult for other users to, like force them to upgrade. Okay? It still took a couple of years, and till date, in browser we use ES5, which was there in 2009 till date. Okay, still we use all of the code is basically in ES5. Right? We write code in ES6. So in 2015, okay, so from 2009 to 2014 or 15, ES5 was solely completely adopted everywhere, and around 2013 the new version. So back then, because internet was so fast, companies started realizing some of the drawbacks of JavaScript. Alright, so they again started learning from a different programming language, and started suggesting the implementation and new changes. So that changes was finally approved in 2015, approved by ECMAScript in 2015, and that is called as a ES6. So ECMAScript ES 2015 and ES6 both are same. So in ES6, few new things are introduced, and which were basically kind of a drawback in ES5, and they were trying to overcome those drawbacks, right? So in ES6 came in 2015, then again ES7 came in 2017. Again, let's like a similar I guess we are around ES10 or something. But we have this ES10, we have this all the implementation, and there are a lot of things on pipeline for the development for the browser. But still, whenever we do the development, okay, whenever we build a website, we still work on most of the time in ES5. Okay, we do on ES6. If not ES5, then we do on ES6, and ES7 to ES10. We have to use kind of a transpiler which convert this ES7 to ES10 code into a ES5 or ES6. Okay, if your browser is new, then your website. If your browser is new and if you're using ES6, your website will work. But if your browser is old and if you're using ES6, your website will not work. Okay? That is why, just to give a safety that your website or your application should work in all the browsers, irrespective of the size, irrespective of the version. Right? So all the big company basically will compile everything which is in ES6 into a ES5, so that it is consistently work across the across all the website. Okay? I'll just show you what is the if I open my website. Okay, so this is completely written on ES6. Okay, but if I open before I basically build this or deploy this, all right. So there is a tool which converts all the ES6 code into a ES5, so that this website will work in all the browser. Doesn't matter which version it is. Right? If I go back to this, right? So if I go to this, go to source, okay, and if I open this, you won't be able to read anything. So basically, it converts everything into a ES5 code base. Alright, this gives a kind of safety net for the browser. This will work. Otherwise, what will happen? It will work in some browser and it won't work in some browser. So that will basically kind of a bad user experience for the users. Okay, so that is why even if you're learning JavaScript, right? Even if you're working in ES6, okay, if a company is still using ES6, but if you don't know ES5, okay, you will not be able to give a proper or kind of a better solution to the front end of browser. Okay? And that is why knowing ES5 is also very much important in JavaScript, and also obviously we have to write the code in ES6 because that gives a lot of flexibility and lot of performance improvement. All right, the same. This is how basically JavaScript was evolved using by contributing contribution from different companies. Okay, and one second. So company like Google, company like Uber, company like Airbnb, company like Yahoo, back then Yahoo was the biggest contributor in JavaScript standardization, and they had like thousands of JavaScript engineers, right? And Google has around 20,000 JavaScript developers, and they only work on JavaScript, right? So that is basically popularity of JavaScript. It is the most popular language in the world, right? It is the most popular language in the world, but again, because it is its drawback and its flexibility, okay, and its design, right? I said that it was very quickly, like it was designed in very short term, in a short period of time. Because of that, there was a lot of design flaws, and because browsers were basically kind of very sparse and fragmented, there is no way we can update the browser. So those all things stayed in the design in JavaScript. And now, because it is so huge and so many, like if you say billion, right? Then like all the JavaScript architecture, old architecture, is around a billion browsers, more than billion browsers, right? And now it is very difficult to change. We cannot change it, right? So JavaScript decided to keep those, okay? And that is why a lot of researchers who are into programming, a lot of mathematicians who do programming hate JavaScript because it does not work as per programming, right? Because JavaScript was earlier, when it was created, it was not created based as a programming language. It was created based on a scripting language. They thought we will never do a kind of programming, or we will never do a kind of arithmetic or some kind of operations in browser. It will always will be done by Java backend. Okay, we will only display it, or kind of will give you only interaction that if you click something, something will happen. But because all of this internet company came together and they did lot of improvement and lot of research, and JavaScript completely took a different trajectory, and it evolved from scripting language to a main language, right? And that is why those bad architectures are still there, bad decisions still there, and that is why in JavaScript we have few things which cannot be changed anymore, okay? And that we call as a tech debt. Okay, so in JavaScript we have a very huge tech debt which cannot be solved anymore. Okay, so it is called as a tech debt. So one of the tech debt is plus. So in JavaScript, never thought that we will do a arithmetic operation. Okay, so what when he was designing JavaScript or Mocha, when Brendan was designing Mocha, he thought if I have to use a concat as string, I will use plus. So he basically used a plus a is double a, all right. But later, when this internet company started, they started doing computation in the browser, and the ES6 started. ES6 standardization decided that all the mathematical operation will be also given to the browser. Okay? But this was already there in the thousands of millions of browsers, right? And now, it was very difficult to change now, right? So in PHP you have dot, right? In PHP you have dot, and I don't know in other language we use something else, right? So in JavaScript, to concat a string we use plus. Okay? And now, how do we do arithmetic operations? So JavaScript basically then they decided that the plus operation will do both. I will cover this tomorrow. Plus operation will do both concat as well as addition. Okay? Okay. So this is the one tech debt which cannot be solved anymore. Okay. Same way. Second tech debt is double equal. Remember I told you about triple equal here. Okay. So in JavaScript never thought they'll do a mathematical operations, and then again they use double equal for normal check. But to do a kind of mathematical check, that was not possible to do it. Alright. So they basically kind of introduced a new operator called triple equal. Okay. So this do a equality check. Okay. Okay. Another one tech that is called is a null. Okay, so this is like a kind of a stupid check, uh, uh, if we try to do a check what is the type of this null, right, it will give us an object. So when Brendan was designing this Mocha architecture or writing a code, he missed one if else statement, okay, where he forgot to add a null check. Okay, he forgot to add a null check, and because of that, null was never checked in JavaScript code. And whenever we do a type of null, it will always give us the output object. It is not really an object, it is a null value, but it will give you an output object. Right? Because this code was already there in millions of browsers, there is no way we can add or change this. It would start crashing the browsers. Okay? And because millions of website was built using this, and it is very difficult for asking them to change this, right? So basically, the committee decided that they will not change it. They'll keep this as it is. Okay? So this is called tech debt. So these are the three tech debts which is there in JavaScript, which you will have to kind of handle every time whenever you do something. All right. So you have to know this. So what kind of tech debt you are handling, or what kind of tech debt you are basically encountered with, so that you can properly handle your code. Okay. So before you do anything, just like whenever you arithmetic operation, you have to know that this plus operation, will it do arithmetic or concat? You have to be sure. Okay. Whenever you do equality check, you have to sure whether it will be just do equal sign or equality sign. Like in JavaScript, one is same as one. Okay, one will be given as same as one because they didn't do a arithmetic check. Just to avoid anything like equality, and to fix this, they added triple equal. So now this will not be the same. All right. So double equal is one of the tech debt. All right. So this is the basically kind of history of JavaScript, and this is how it is evolved. So back in 2009, when ECMAScript 5 came, and around the same time, Google Chrome's browser was very popular, and their V8 engine was very popular, built on C and C++. Okay, and it used to open the website like very fast. Okay? And other than the Chrome was I'm not Chrome. The Internet Explorer was very slow in terms of rendering the page. So back then there was a guy called Ryan who was doing a research, and he wanted to build some tool for his backend. And he was doing some research, and he was looking into some programming language, Ruby and all, Ruby, Python, another language for a non-blocking kind of operation. Because JavaScript by design is a single-threaded. Back in 1995, there was no multi-core CPUs, right? And because JavaScript was designed in a very short period of time, he never gave a thought of multi-threading. Okay? So again, JavaScript was designed as a single-threaded and kind of non-blocking. The same thing was used in Chrome browser, and he saw this Chrome V8 engine can be. I can use this and I can run JavaScript at the backend. Still now, JavaScript was only running in the front end, and there was like few more engine, but those were not very popular. So because Chrome is again an open source browser, so it took a code from Chrome V8 and did some update, did some library on that, created some library on top of the V8 engine, and created a engine called Node.js. Okay? He actually created an engine and he called it as a Node.js. Right? Because it is built on Node, V8 engine for JavaScript, that is why it is called JS. JS stands for kind of JavaScript. Okay? And that is how the genesis of Node started in around 2009, May 2009. Okay, and I started Node around December 2009. Luckily I got access to the Node through hacker community. Okay. But because what happened back then, there were like thousands of JavaScript developers in these big companies, Google, Yahoo, and all the old companies old web companies like Adobe, and I don't remember the name, but all those front-end developers found out about the Node. The Node was released, and they saw, okay, so this was developed. Because if I write code in JavaScript, I can use the exact same code and can run it in backend. Okay? And that basically took off, right? And that is how the popularity of Node basically grew very fast. And back then, 2009, the company started to call Uber. Uber Cabs. It used to call Uber Cabs, 2009-10, and they developed their first application, real-time application in Node.js, right? And it became very popular in developer community. And suddenly, all of the companies started using Node, okay? Because they didn't had to re-educate their developers. They already had their JavaScript developers. All they had to do is spend some time, read the documentation, and start creating backend software. Right? Suddenly, what happened? Suddenly, a kind of million JavaScript developers or million front-end developers became a million backend developers. Okay? So companies saw a very huge dip in cost because they could use same developer in the backend whenever there is a work, right? And because this was again, the guy Ryan released this node as an open source in MIT license. Okay? All right. So before I continue, what is the MIT license? Who will tell me what is an MIT license? Yeah, so MIT is basically a permissive license which basically gives a kind of a protection to the developer, also a protection to the user, that this software is basically free to use and do whatever you want. Neither developer nor the user is responsible for any kind of damage or claims. Okay? So this gives companies and developers kind of a freedom to explore and freedom to experiment. Right? This because of this Chrome was an open source. Node again on top of that was an open source project, and because of that, developer community was empowered, and developer community basically started contributing to the community, and they started creating libraries, backend libraries, Node.js libraries, and those are called NPM, Node Package Manager libraries. And that is how a lot of softwares and a lot of packages was started coming to the ecosystem, and all of those packages was basically released as an MIT license. And that is how the popularity of JavaScript took off from not only it was already popular in the front end, but also it became very hugely popular in backend as well in 2012. Yeah, when they saw its power, its non-blocking power, because web is a non-blocking, and basically a website is a non-blocking, and suddenly you had the server also non-blocking. That means it was like a match made in heaven, right? So company was basically saving like 70% of the cost in development infrastructure, and that is why it was kind of very much basically adopted back in 2012 to 2015-16 in the US or kind of Western countries. Then it saw a sudden decline due to some other reasons, and back in around 2014 and 15, India started catching up with the Node.js. Flipkart started using, and so Snapdeal started using this. Other companies which were there like Book My Show, Redbus, and and some other companies started using Node.js, and because here also we had a JavaScript, and companies started deploying the backend in Node, and from there it took off. And 2015 till date in India, at least in India, uh, the job market, Node.js and JavaScript is the most sought job. You will find a more number of jobs in JavaScript, both in backend as well as front end. Right? So Node is specifically for a backend, and in like a couple of months there was another library was introduced for backend called Dino. It is kind of reverse of Node. Dino is same, but whatever mistake there was in Node, again Node had some issues, some mistakes, which again the same developer tried to fix using a module for a library called new engine called Dino. but again it is very new it is released in 2020. So let's say to get it popular, possibly 2 to 3 years, it will take 2 to 3 years. So again, Node is going to stay for next 5 to 7 years, and it will be there for next 10 years. Right? And because till we have browser, JavaScript will be there. So till we have browser, Node will be there, right? So there is no chance its demand will go down. Okay. Same way, JavaScript language, writing code in JavaScript languages used to be very difficult, and we had to remember a lot of things. So a lot of developers again came together and created a library called for front end. This is specifically for front end library called jQuery. Okay, around 2004 and 5. So jQuery is basically a best practices from all the companies. Okay, so if you see WordPress, right, and other CMS and all, right, everyone uses jQuery. That means entire world's internet, 33% to 40% of the internet is powered by jQuery. Okay? Even if jQuery is old technology, right, but it is still being used. It is still being used. It is still my favorite whenever I want to use some quick iterations. Okay? But to create a big applications in JavaScript, okay, jQuery was not very well designed. Okay? So then came a Backbone. So Backbone came, Backbone JS. Backbone JS around 2000, I guess 2012 or something. So with this, anyone was able to create a good web application. Yeah, if I show what does web application means, I'll just open a website called Ghana.com. I'll just show, right? So now basically website open. This is the web application. So if I play here, click here, right, the song will start playing. Anything, let's say right. So without refreshing your website, I'm able to play, right? So with JavaScript, with jQuery, building this kind of website, which should take a lot of effort. Okay? Backbone solved a big part of it. Okay? Then again, a lot of companies started using Backbone, created a lot of web application using Backbone. Again, through Backbone, a lot of companies learn again a lot of new way to build a web applications, and then a new framework was created by Google called Angular. Okay? So I hope all of you are familiar with Angular. I don't have to. Okay? So what Angular did, they said you don't have to write JavaScript anymore. You can write JavaScript and HTML together in the same code base, right? But around 2015, they realized they made a huge mistake, and they basically scrapped Angular 1.5 and they rewrote the Angular 2 using TypeScript. Okay, and at the same time, Facebook was creating their own UI framework called React. Okay, now this was the most beautiful JavaScript framework, front-end framework till date, okay? And very heavily used by all the company who has a web application. Okay? All the companies. Right? This gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of architecture design, in terms of building as a modular applications, in terms of UI, right? And because again, this is basically created by Google, Facebook, and they have open sourced it, and its license is again, if I see its license, right? Where is the license code of contact? If I go to GitHub, I see license. Okay. So it is again a MIT license. That means anyone can use React, modify it, use it. Facebook cannot claim it. Okay. Facebook cannot sue it. Okay, so that is why, and now because this was a very well designed library from Facebook, a huge number of companies started contributing to React library and React modules, and that is why you will see a lot of React modules. Okay, and what is the beauty of JavaScript, right? because Node and React both are JavaScript. So any module which was built using Node at the backend can be used in the React. Right? So same module can be used in two places, in browser as well as Node. Yeah. So that basically saved a lot of time for developers to build anything. You build once, use twice. Okay. And that is why it is very popular to create any application in React, because it will basically take power of build tool and utilizes the module library, module system of npm. If I go here, if I go to npm, okay, so there are around, last I've seen there are around 2 lakhs. How many packages are there? Okay, so currently used by this computer. So let's see. History. Package. Okay, so the message says npm passes 1 million packet milestone. That means and Node has around 1 million libraries. Okay, that means whatever you want to build in Node, it is already there. It is already built by somebody as a modular, right? All you have to do, package them together. The same thing React uses. Okay, so it leverages the Node and npm, and you can build up most of the thing using React for the front end. Okay, that is the beauty of this thing. Same guy can work on, if the developer likes working in backend as well as front end, he can utilize the same thing using this thing. If I open this, right, so this is uh, this is a very simple website actually, but actually this is built on React. This is built on React. Okay? This is the actual. This is built on actual Gatsby. Gatsby is built on top of React. So again, React is a framework of JavaScript. React is a framework of JavaScript, and Gatsby is built on top of React. And still, you'll see a lot of company uses Gatsby for building a web applications. Okay, and this is kind of competitor to a WordPress. They gives a lot of flexibility. Similar way, we have something called Next. Okay. Okay, not Next. Okay, so we have Next. Next is again, Next is again a kind of a framework built on top of React, and this helps us create a very good websites within a very less amount of time. You get the best of both. You can work on backend as well as front end. Okay? So React is Node is a very popular again. Node is not a language. Okay, just to basically clarify, if anyone says I Node is a language, Node is not a language. Node is a framework, JavaScript runtime environment, which was built on top of V8 engine, which is work at the backend. Okay, Node is not a language. JavaScript is a language. Right? Okay, so you just have to remember this. So just like a Node which works at the backend, React is very popular for the front end now. Okay? And another framework is called Vue.js, which is again of open source, built by communities, and it is like it takes best of both. It basically borrowed some concept from Angular and borrowed some concept from React and created a new framework. Right? And still a lot of company uses it, but I have never used it. And and it gives a lot of flexibility as well. But I've never used it, so I cannot comment much about this, because I've been using React for past 5 years, so I know exactly how React works internally and all. Okay, and Node around for 11 years. Right? And since okay, so once you know JavaScript, you will be able to work on any one of the framework. You don't have to work. You don't have to work, and you just have to spend very small amount of time just to understand the syntax and some flows. But you know, all the if and else and all the operators and all the loops, it will remain exactly the same. Okay? With a specific environment, specific some changes, but everything remains the same. Okay? That is the state of the JavaScript, at least to date, but and it is going to be there for next 5 to 7 years. So if you are starting a career in this field, and if you want to choose this, then it is good, very good place to be, in terms of not only in terms of opportunities, but also in terms of growth. Yeah, because till we have browser, we will have a website, or we will have a web application. Yeah, and till we have a web application, we will have a JavaScript. Okay, until then, JavaScript developers will always be sought after. Okay? JavaScript developer will always be sought after. And why Node? Because if the company will require a JavaScript developer front end for front end and React developer front end, and they possibly will not go for any other language, okay, which will require uh, learning a completely new concept. Right? The same developer can be deployed to the backend. Right? And or the other way, if company uses another language, then they will have to hire a guy who can do front end in JavaScript. Okay? That means it is a cost to the company. Company will have to pay kind of double salary, okay, to the people. Right? They will have to have a double strength, and company will avoid. That is why JavaScript, overall JavaScript is here to stay for quite some number of years. Okay? This is what my because I've been working in this field for last 10-11 years, and I've been consulting and built a lot of technology using this. Okay, so I know exactly how things works. I know exactly how cost works in this. Okay? So if I just do just one sec.